for this particular session, I guess Indrani needs no introduction. Everybody knows who Indrani Mukerjea is. She is very notoriously known for being an aggressive, for being an ambitious woman. So I would first like to just start off with that, so that we can kind of get into the mode of talking about her book, her experiences and everything. But let's just start off with that. People blame you for being ambitious and courageous. Have you really committed that crime, or is it just what people say?
Well, I think, not just, I wouldn't just say in India. I think all over, whenever there's an ambitious woman, I think you are looked through a different lens. We are looked upon with a different lens. And sadly enough, I think even in today's day and time, I think, I wouldn't call it a crime, but you are definitely judged as to how you can be so ambitious, or if you've reached a position of power, you have definitely done something which is, not up to society's expectations of, the traditional good girl syndrome. If you've reached where many men can't actually, in probably 7 lifetimes. So that's, I think, how I would position this whole thing about being an ambitious woman. It's not easy.
So the theme of this particular literature festival was cultivating resilience through storytelling. And while we were conceptualizing it, and while we were thinking about people that would genuinely represent resilience, we said, you know what, Indrani certainly needs to be there. You are somebody who has delved into the depths of a life that has been filled with extreme amount of challenges and a lot of public scrutiny. So for the audience here, how do you see the concept of resilience in your own life journey?
Well, I think throughout my life, and I just won't talk about the last, I had, of course, a very tough phase for 6.5 years. But apart from that, I think along my journey, right from the time I was a child, I've always faced challenges. Now it is, of course, up to each individual, and it's not just women, even if it's, I think many men face challenges. But when you, like you rightly use the term public scrutiny, yes, I underwent a lot of that. I think for 2 reasons. One, because I've been in the media space for a very long time, and people knew me for several years, for the last 25 years, as a media honcho. And I think when they saw, they say that when you're down, you're kicked on the stomach. I think that was what really happened to me at that time. But there were 2 ways to deal with it. One was, obviously, I could just, sit in somewhere in the corner of a room and cry for the rest of my life. The other was to rise again and to come out and fight for my truth, and which I did, and to come out victorious, really. And I think that is the only way where and when you're on the right side, and you are on the side of truth, I think you, without fail, have the resilience and the courage to fight and to come out and talk openly about everything, whether it's in a forum, whether it's through your book, or whether it's through whatever medium. I'm not afraid to talk. I know I have a voice, and I shall always use it for myself as well as for anybody who needs me to stand up for them, if I believe that it is for the right reasons.
So the act of writing a memoir can be a form of reclaiming power over one's life story. So while you were doing that, did you feel empowered while penning Unbroken? And was writing Unbroken an act of healing for you, or did it force you to converse or confront emotions that you had probably buried a long time back?
I think, Unbroken is basically a catharsis, right? So yes, I wrote that time, I wrote the book, during very trying circumstances, and it was the period of COVID. And I had all the time in the world to top it all, So I think it was the best opportunity for me to not just pen down my thoughts, Writing was one part of it. I think, like you rightly said, it was a process of healing. It was a process of dealing with the emotional, turbulence that I went through, and I experienced entire kind of journey of having to fight for myself and to kind of ensure that I won. That was, I think, for me, that became really, and I had to do it all by myself because, as you're aware, my parents passed away immediately, and it was like within 15 days. So it was, and having no siblings, having no kind of this thing, it was a bit of a challenge. And it is just also, strangely enough, in your tough times, all the people who are your so-called friends suddenly disappear. So who your friends are also. Once you are during those trying circumstances, who your true friends are and who are the people who stand by you, and no matter what. And I think it was a very interesting journey, and which is why once you read my book, and for all of you who have read my book or plan to read my book, I think you'll get an understanding of how I think during our course of life, our journeys, we come across a lot of people, and people who may not at all times appear to be the best of your friends are the ones at times who really stand by you in your times of trouble. And no matter how trying your circumstances are, if you are on the side of truth, and if you believe in yourself, I think you can win. And it is not about victory or failure. I think the journey itself, every step forward itself is a show of your spiritual or your personal strength. And I think each one of us possess it.
Mm-hmm. So, from your experience, do you think resilience is a choice, a habit, or something deeper that emerges in crisis?
I think all of us, possess the power of resilience within us. It is just that the harder the circumstances are, I think, we are all, all human beings are essentially, we are all survivors. Each one of us feel that, if we are thrown into a particular situation, we are going to break down. But I think each one, we have as human beings, we have the survival instincts. It's the survival of the fittest. And when I say survival of the fittest, I think fitness is more the power of your spirit and resilience more than physical strength. I have always been like this all my life, so physically I can't say that I've been very strong, but emotionally and I think spiritually I have always been strong, and I think I will continue to remain so, no matter what.
So, can you talk a little bit about, after the trying circumstances that you went through, what have you been doing? If you can share your insights about what have you been doing to ensure your sanity, your resilience, your emotional control over everything that went around in your life is all there. And I mean, looking at you, nobody can, even remotely look and say you went through something troubling, you went through a lot of trauma. Can you share what is it that you have been doing over the last few years?
Actually, in the last 3 years, when as you can call it, I've been free, let's put it that way. I have actually immersed myself into a lot of things. I wrote this book while I was in confinement, and the moment I came out, of course, I was very blessed because I didn't have to go looking out for a publisher. They approached me immediately after that. So I obviously completed the book, and it was published by HarperCollins. As you know, I was very lucky, and it did. Everyone enjoyed reading it, and it was very well received. But apart from that, I have been very busy learning several dance forms, because dancing can be extremely healing. So I took to ballroom dancing and Bharatanatyam, which I started. I'm 53 now, and I started that at the age of 50. I actually started learning dance at the age of 50, and I was very pleasantly surprised that I did very well. I did better than what I was expecting. In fact, my dance gurus, they had said very clearly that at least till 4 years, till 5 years, we are not going to put you up on stage. But then a year ago at the Khushwant Singh Literary Fest, I did my first performance, Sun-Kissed Phoenix, and there's no looking back now. So I surprised myself and my guru, Sandeep Sopaka. He was very kind of happy about it, and I performed with him, so that was the biggest thing for me. It was really, really good and very soul-filling, I would say. And though I should not be talking about this at the moment, so I'm expecting, and there'll be more news on the book, because I am expecting the book Unbroken also to perhaps go out to the audiovisual medium very shortly. We'll have announcements at the right time, so that has happened. And so apart from that, also I'm writing my second book, which is not about myself. Okay, so I've done my own catharsis, whatever I had to speak. As you say, my life is an open book, literally. So I've written everything in the book. And apart from that, now the second book that I'm doing is going to talk about a lot of, it's also a non-fiction, by the way. And it is, again, I can just give you a bit of a hint. It is about women. It is women-centric. But it is about similar women who have been very brave women. And it's interesting. I hope it's going to do as well as this book has done. So I was not expecting this, but yeah, it's
So I guess when I wrote my first book and people asked me, so when is the second one coming? I used to say I am not an author and second one is not going to come. But then, last year the second one did come. And then I told them the second one came, and it's on a subject that's very close to my heart. So the third one is not going to come, but tomorrow there is going to be a launch of my third book. I still don't think I'm an author, and that's the same question I want to ask you. Is Indrani Mukerjea an author, or is she somebody who has amazing stories that need to be told to the world?
Well, that was my story, the book. But now, I think during my lifetime, I've come across a lot of people, and I can continue. I think if I write 10 books also, it's not going to be enough. But on that note, you asked me a question that what are things that I'm doing as of now as a process of healing or continuing my journey going forward. So I am actually also currently means I've been doing it for the last 3 years, I would say. I have been working with a lot of underprivileged women, particularly women who are kind of in shelters and who have been abandoned by their families, or women who have just come out of prison, or women who are not being able to come out of prison because they don't have the funds, right? And even, trust me, even I would say in all strata of society, I cannot speak about anything outside of India, but in India I have seen it that you could come from any background. If a man is, for whatever reasons, taken into judicial custody, his entire family and the wife's family, everybody is there to support. And I mean, I have heard of stories where if a man is in prison, the wife is sleeping on the floor because my poor husband is sleeping on the floor. But that's not the case for women. You know, women are very often abandoned by their own families as well, apart from their husbands. And trust me, it happens. So I'm helping out a lot of these women, re-establishing their lives. A lot of them, particularly, you know, the ones who are not educated or not, I mean, I wouldn't call them illiterate, but, you know, not necessarily who can go out and get a job. So we are I've tied up with this organization who helps with, called Insaniyat, where we kind of give them vocational training. And these people kind of are, after that, till they get a job, we support them. And then once they have a job, we are. But very recently, I must also talk about this new thing, which I haven't started as yet, but I will be starting like very, very soon when I go back to Bombay now. So in November, in fact, I had come to Delhi to receive this Karamveer Chakra Award by the United Nations, and you know the whole this thing background to it. And I met obviously a whole bunch of very interesting people, set of people. And there was one girl who I met. She was actually not rescued. She rescued herself from a brothel, and she's just all of 21 years of age. And she was sold. I will not take the name because it's not, I think, appropriate for. But she's a very, very brave woman, I would say, and which is why she received the Karamveer Chakra Award. And she was sold by her own parents. She hails from Bengal, to these human trafficking people. And she was kept in captivity from the age of 14 till almost the age of 19, till she managed to run away. Actually, she ran, when I say ran, for some 100 kilometers with some other 6-7 girls, younger girls, that she took with her. And they ran till they reached, the right kind of this thing where cops were there and everything. And then they were finally put in this shelter, and which is in Bombay. And I mean, I get goosebumps when I talk about it. When we talk about our own struggles, so these kind of stories, motivate me to continue my journey. That when I think about my problems, that if a 14-year-old could survive that, and now she's completing her graduation, and she is kind of looking to be a motivational speaker. And so then she reached out to me after that, after I returned to Bombay, that please come and visit us. So we have got 80 girls here who need, actually, they are being taken care of. They are being given food and water and everything, but obviously they don't have jobs, So please, so I plan to do that. I hope that these are all girls who have been rescued from human trafficking. And so since I am, any of you, I mean, they are obviously open to, traveling wherever they need to. But I think all these girls are in the age group of 18 to 25. And they all speak English, they speak Hindi, they are all computer literates, So if any of you can kind of reach out to Kapil or me and have jobs anywhere, so that these girls are out of that shelter and can start leading normal lives. When I say normal lives, life is never going to be normal for these people, but they are very brave girls. And I think we ought to, as a society, we ought to help them. So that was the other thing I wanted to actually mention in this.
So you talked about your book, which is going to soon come out, or soon start being looked upon in an audio-visual medium, which is fantastic. But then you also had a Netflix series that came out last year.
Yes, but that is a documentary.
Yes.
That's not a book.
I'm sorry, I said series, yeah. A Netflix documentary that came out last year. And some of you may have seen the news, and I guess it's just from yesterday, so many of you may not have. That documentary has been nominated for IFA awards. Now I know Indrani Mukerjea wouldn't really care about more fame,
Thank you.
right? But what's your kind of, when you heard the news that it's being nominated for IFA, which is perhaps the top awards in that category, at least in India, what was your reaction to that?
Well, this was actually yesterday in the morning. I had just returned from the Kumbh Mela. I managed to go there. So though I had to walk 20 kilometers, sorry, but it was a very good experience. And I returned from Ayodhya day before night. And yesterday in the morning, when I opened my phone, I suddenly saw this message that had come in that, my documentary has been nominated as the best docu-series in the IFA Awards. I don't know if we are going to win it, I hope. But I was actually very overwhelmed, and I had tears in my eyes, let's put it that way. I didn't know how to react because, it was a big challenge at that point. Should I not? And but I did go out and do it, and because I just thought that I had nothing to hide, and whatever I have to speak, and I did it. And I believe that when you have the courage to go out and give your truth, whatever your truth is, I think at some point, it is recognized. And I feel very blessed that it has been well received, though that was also, initially there was a lot of criticism and there was a lot of this thing. So I am, of course, extremely pleased that IFA has at least picked it up, because there was so much of controversy around that as well. But they've picked it up and it's been nominated. So fingers crossed, so please vote for it.
Yeah. So I want to ask you a question. I mean, a lot of Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z goes through a lot of existential crisis kind of questions every once in a while. This idea of purpose often shifts through as you go through different phases of your life. And you are perhaps somebody who discovered a sense of purpose in a situation that most would find hopeless. So if I have to ask you to give an advice specifically to the more younger audience, what would that be?
Yeah, I think, it is very important, no matter what your circumstances are, and particularly, since I can see a lot of young crowd here, I have noticed, and because I have, I do have a lot of very, very young friends as well. So I see very often, whenever there are trying circumstances, people do tend to kind of move towards, some form of support. And when I say support, I don't say support as of taking the support of friends or family. They tend to rely on the not necessarily right kind of substances, whether it is substance abuse or alcohol, and that kind of takes them more and more in a downward spiral. I've noticed that. But I think what is very important, and trust me, each one of us, we go through all kind of different. So each person's problem is equally of the same magnitude as that of the other. I mean, I'll give you a little example. A child on the roadside, all the child can think of is, when am I going to get my next meal? But somebody, another child who comes from, when I'm saying child, because I'm 53, that's why anybody who's in their 30s is also a child, for me. But if he or she comes from a very privileged background, it often happens that, he or she gets into depression because he's not got the newest model of a Mercedes, because the parents would say, hey, listen, I don't think I'm going to buy you this. And so then, the child feels very deprived, very kind of, oh, I need to resort to drugs, I need to kind of drown my sorrows because I have not got the latest model of a Mercedes or a Beamer, so it is very subjective. Whereas a child on the road is just waiting there for his next meal. So I think, like I told you about this girl who I met, until I met that girl, I thought, wow, I thought I was a strong woman. And look at this young girl who ran with 6 other young girls for 100 kilometers. She didn't just save her own life, she saved the lives of 6 other girls. So I think, each one of us have that strength from within. Don't do drugs. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. And I never have. Okay, so I am just letting you know that I think it is very important to find your own strength from within. Take the support of your family, I would say, parents for the younger ones, or whoever, your partners or the people you trust, you believe, always would have your best interest in their hearts for you. And I think meditation really helps, because I meditated a lot, because that helps you to kind of calm your mind to whatever degree you can. And I think try some form of, whatever, it could be soccer, it could be football, it could be painting, it could be dancing, I don't know. But anything that gives you, satisfaction, which really makes you happy. I think it's very important to I wouldn't say, okay, let's put it this way, like the way people drown their sorrows in alcohol, I drown my, emotions in dance. So I think it's very important to do that. Whatever makes you happy. I also enjoy writing, so it could be anything for each one of you, So just do that. Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, you are doing a lot of stuff, even now. But despite all of your resilience and what you do, social stigma can be really persistent and unforgiving. Specifically for somebody in your space. I mean, as we started off with, being an aggressive, ambitious woman in itself a crime. Or at least the society perceives it to be that way. So how do you navigate the intersection of your personal growth and the societal judgment? And what can others learn from that?
So the thing is, they say as you get to the top, you get more lonely. Okay, so I have been a media person myself. And for the last 25 years, in fact, I've been in the media space. And always, being the head of a media, a television network or news, everything, I've always been, under the lens, no matter what. Okay, even then, even now. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. And, I have that streak of that a lot of people come and ask me, now, are you going to get into politics? No, I am not. I'm not interested in politics, I won't. But it's almost like being a politician. So you have a lot of people, it's a very love-hate relationship that, the masses have with people like us. So some people love you for who you are, some people hate you for who you are. And there is, of course, this entire thing of haves and have-nots. I'm not talking in a financial way, okay, so that I clarify this. A lot of people also hate my guts, It's a little bit like, how kind of that no matter what, I don't stop. I continue my journey, I'm always doing something. And what I think, I'm always at conclaves, I'm always, talking to youngsters, I'm always going to universities or colleges or in lit fests, and it is this thing of how do you do it. But I think it is just that one needs to carry on with your journey. And if I sit and worry about what people think about me, I think I will, really not be doing what I'm supposed to do. And also, I think it is a good thing when people take interest in your life. I look at it more like that, that people are definitely interested in my life. That I can tell you. And some people, it's their opinion, you know. Some people may like me, some people may love me, some people may dislike me, some people may hate me. But I know that a lot of people take out time to see what I'm doing. So that itself for me is a victory. And that's the biggest victory actually, because they have time for me.
So, as an author, what was the biggest challenge that you faced? I know you did not face. You can't. Most people, when I ask this question, they say deciding on a publisher, finding a publisher, getting promotion done for their book, blah blah blah, and other things. Of course, that won't be you. So, what was the biggest challenge that you faced while you were, in the process of being an author for your first book, or right now as you are going through your second book?
Actually, for me, it was a very free-flowing writing process. And when they say writing, for me, it was like ink to paper, so I didn't have access to a computer to type on or a phone to, this thing. So I actually wrote my entire book. So that's going to be worth something later, that manuscript. So I wrote the entire 400 pages and the, whatever, some 1 lakh, some 38,000 words. And on each page, I used to actually count the number of words and write down at the bottom, so as I progressed. And my publisher was actually shocked. They said that we don't even do this in HarperCollins, we don't kind of. So it was that, but for me, it was a very free-flowing process. And because it was about my life, so it was very simple. So as thoughts came to me, and I would just continue writing, I would tear numerous pages and throw them away, in paper balls. They'd be all over, my room. But it was very easy for me, and I was, like I said, I was very blessed. I was very lucky. I got a publisher the day I came out. It was as simple as that. So it was easy. Yeah, I was just blessed, and I didn't know, I've always been a public speaker, right? Being in the media space. So I think that, I didn't know I could write, but that came very naturally to me. And because it is in very, my book is in very simple, elementary English. And it's written exactly the way you hear me speak now. It's exactly like that. So when you're reading the book, you feel almost as if I am talking to you. So I think that is what really did well, and that is what connected with whoever read the book. Yeah.
I guess I did not know some of this. I've known you for a while, but if I had known that you hand wrote your book, that would be the first thing that I would have started off with. I think in the literary world, at least in the 2024, 2025 literary world, that's got to be an accomplishment. I don't think I know of any other author that has done this. They have handwritten their book, they have counted the words on every page, they have kind of finished the manuscript and then given it out to somebody to type. That's something that when you go out to talk about your book, I guess that's the first thing you should start off with, because that's probably an amazing thing to do. So what next for Indrani? Something that you do has to be at what's the right word? At the stature of it would fit Indrani. So what's next for you?
I think at the moment, like I said, and by the way, the second book, even though I have access to everything now, but I'm still handwriting it because it is just, I think, so wonderful, to be able to actually write a book. And so that second book is coming out, as I said. And as of now, I'm just taking it, going with the flow. And now, as I said, I think this book is very close to the announcements will come out very soon. It's very close to getting into the audiovisual medium, which is going to keep me extremely busy. And a lot of my time also goes, because I've started my company, as you know. So I am producing, I've already produced one musical dance drama which is called Sun-Kissed Phoenix, and I am producing a second one. I can tell you the name though I had planned not to reveal it. It's called Chitrangada. So that is another dance drama which is it is based on Indian mythology, and I think I'm really looking forward to that because there is a different high, I would say, in a live performance. So I would like to continue to stay in that space because I'm really enjoying dance. And a musical itself is, I think, it's a lot of practice, a lot of rehearsals, and then there are no, what is really interesting is there are no takes and retakes. Once you're on stage, you're there, and, you can't make a mistake. So for me, Sun-Kissed Phoenix was a similar kind of thing. When I first, did my first performance, you can't make a mistake. And if you make a mistake, you should know how to cover it up. That's the thing.
So Indrani at one time was a media honcho. And Indrani, who used to create people, right? I mean, as a media person, used to help others kind of reach a certain level. And now she's become a performer. Is Indrani going to go back to being, a media honcho, somebody that kind of... so is Indrani going to do more than her own productions, going into in the business side of the world?
So this is actually also a business, what I'm doing right now. The only difference is that here it's not that every show that I produce I'm going to perform, but I am actually helping, in the theatre world in particular, there are very talented artists who do not have the funds to go out and produce, whether they are writers, whether they are, so I am looking at various spaces in the media. This is also part of the media thing, but this is more of art. So in a way, I think, like the way I created people earlier, I'm continuing that journey. But I have now expanded my arena to different spaces. Now it is not just media experts. I'm doing that with underprivileged women, children. So I'm still doing that for people, but it's in a variety of spaces, and depending on the space, if there is something that comes to me which I feel can create a difference in society, like when I started 9XM, for example, at that point, I mean, what excited me, why I got there, I think 9XM was the first channel which did not have live VJs, so I said, instead of 9XM, instead of live VJs in 9XM, we are going to use animated characters, which was that Chote Bade. So I wonder if I'm going to get into the media space, if it is television or whatever, it is not going to be just another television channel. It has to be, so I am thinking of a lot of things. So it has to be, I have to be able to make the difference, otherwise, I just don't want to do something for the sake of doing it.
Sure. Absolutely. I wouldn't expect anything less than that myself as well. And you have had, a relationship with PVLF over the last couple of years. I mean, you came for my book launch last year. You are back here this year, talking about your book. What thoughts, and you have seen the stage and how we have evolved from last year when we did it in Pragati Maidan at the New Delhi World Book Fair to this year when we are doing it at Sundar Nasri. By the way, I'm just in love with this environment. Of course, the sun is setting now, so it's going to get dark and the lights will turn on soon. But what would be your thoughts about PVLF and, a message that you would want to leave us with?
I think PVLF, and particularly you, Kapil, and the entire team, I would say that to each one of team members, I think you guys are doing a wonderful job because not just because of the literary festival, that you organize or the publishing side of it, but the kind of focus that you all put on mental health, which is a very kind of, people still don't want to talk about mental health. And even for someone, who looks like a very, very regular, happy person, many people are in, today's day and age, there's so much of peer pressure, so much of social media, so much of trolling. People do go through mental health issues. And the kind of work that you all are putting in, I think that is something that really, really, needs to be appreciated. And I really, seriously, I'm very impressed about that. And maybe today or tomorrow, you must make it a point to talk about soul as well, which is, I think, doing fantastic job. Yes, fantastic. And I hope, you keep growing like this, and we have bigger and bigger lit fests. And I think the last 4 days of the virtual lit fest that you had, I think that is also very, very commendable, because so many authors and so much of interaction, because which you cannot actually always fit into a physical space.
Yep. It also gives a platform for people who are not here. I mean, it's not possible for everyone to travel to a specific location for a literature festival. There is a lot of logistics and other things involved. Doing something virtually, I think, works for everyone. And it's not just true for the authors and their travel. It's actually more true for the audiences in how they are going to get access to anything if it is only going to be physical. It's time. I mean, Indrani and I can go on and talk forever, but I know it's time. Our host is standing there, coming, walking a few steps every few minutes, waiting for me to kind of finish. But I must say, writer, author of a bestseller, did a docuseries. Is now looking at doing a lot more, has produced a show, and of course is a performer in that show. Of course, used to be a media honcho, has created media, has created the musical exposition in how we look at TV channels, how we look at OTT. I think the VJs, the not human VJs, the concept that you brought in with Chote Bade, it was just so ahead of its time.
Thank you, Kapil.
So I am sure over the next some time we will see more from you. I know there is a lot that you would keep close to your chest till it is ready to be put out there. But I'm sure we would be seeing a lot more of you. We would be hearing a lot more about the kind of things that you are doing over the next some time. Congratulations on who you are, how you are, and what you do in your life. For me personally, looking at somebody like you specifically, you mentioned soul. I personally have been doing a lot of work in mental wellness over the last some time. I struggle to find people who would show as much resilience as you do. You rightly pointed out that there are people who come from, who have it much worse than you. And they go through and they, kind of recover and all that is there. But for somebody to be at your level, to fall down, and have that situation and then to rise up again, for me, it's probably as much of a story of resilience as anybody else could ever have. So congratulations on that. And thank you so much, all of you, for being here. You've been a lovely audience, and let me now turn it back to Amit.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Indrani ji, Kapil ji. Indrani, we are truly honored to have you here. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.